Oh, very spiffy.
Aren't you spiffy?
Oh, you look real spiffy tonight.
Did you see the movie F1 this summer, starring Brad Pitt?
I'm not here to hold anyone's hand. I'm here to race.
There's a reason he's Benjamin Buttoning in real life, looking decades younger than he did just a few short years ago.
But wait, you say he was old. He not that old. That's a handsome man right there.
Same with Lindsay Lohan, whose Freaky Friday reboot played out in real life when she hit the red carpet looking 17 again.
Lindsay Lohan is aging backwards. She looks absolutely stunning.
She has transformed into the most gorgeous, natural beauty.
She is the literal blueprint for facial glow-ups.
One more for the roster, Mr. Ricky Martin. He is looking like he drank from... And the word on everyone's lips, or rather, on everyone's face, is lift.
Facelift.
Look, this episode is not meant to be speculative about which celebrities have or haven't had a facelift. I don't think any names mentioned up top would even admit to it, but the speed at which this procedure is improving is freaky fast, Formula One fast. So whether you want to de-jowl yourself now or keep it as an option later, it is time to start paying attention to this technology, because I bet that within a decade or so, looking 25 will be the new 50. So hang on to those jowls, because we are talking facelifts. This episode of Spiffy is sponsored by Hims. I love Hims. Genuinely, I have been using them for many years to keep this hair on my head. And if you are someone who values choice in your money, your goals, your future, then you know how frustrating healthcare can be. And that is where Hims and where hers both come in. They are reimagining healthcare around you. They offer access to personalized care, not just for hair loss, but also for weight loss, sexual health, mental health. There are no membership fees, no surprise fees, just transparent pricing and real care that you can access from anywhere. So feel like your best self thanks to quality, convenient care through Hims and through hers. Start your free trial online today. Just visit hims.com/blueprint. You can support our show in doing so. Again, that's Hims, HIMS.com/BLUEPRINT to find your personalized treatment options. Disclaimer, this is not available everywhere. Prescription products require provider consultation. See website for fuller details, important safety information, and restrictions. Welcome to Spiffy, a podcast with the freshest takes on men's grooming. I am Adam Hurly, a longtime men's grooming journalist. I was GQ's grooming guy for 9 years, and Spiffy is a production of my own grooming outlet called Blueprint by Adam Hurly. You can find us on YouTube and social media at Blueprint Grooming, as well as on the web at grooming.tips, where you can also sign up for our free men's grooming newsletter. Until recently, our collective idea of a facelift was that they were for, well, older folks, septuagenarians, let's say, people with sagging skin, and the results were also pretty obvious. These individuals would look pulled, plucked, and unnatural. But things are changing, and that's largely thanks to the rise of GLP-1s and facial deflation. That's your Wegovy, your Ozempics. People are looking for a way to get rid of that extra skin. And thanks to the so-called Zoom boom, more folks have been staring at themselves day in and day out for nearly 6 years now. So they have that heightened sense of self-awareness. I think that's a pretty obvious reason why things like facelifts are becoming more and more popular. Now, since this is a men's podcast, you might be wondering, well, what does a modern facelift look like for men? And is it dramatic? Is it subtle? So let's get into that with a surgeon who is actually spearheading that facelift knowledge share amongst his own peers. This is Dr. Sam Rizk.
When I speak to men, I ask them what bothers them. I don't mention the word facelift. I tell them this is how we clean this up. We take this out, we tuck this, we pull this.
He is one of the world's most renowned facial plastic surgeons. Dr. Rizk performs surgeries in his Park Avenue offices and across the globe, in fact, because he's teaching other plastic surgeons some of the many techniques that he himself has spent decades innovating. So A quick note on Dr. Rizk's interview. We did catch him in between seeing patients midweek, so he called in for this one. His audio isn't going to be as crisp as mine, but I do think what he had to say is pretty damn good.
So there are many different procedures that males or men can do to improve the way they look. There is eyelid surgery. There is an isolated neck lift. There is short scar lifts. There are lots of different procedures. And ultimately, things have to be customized. There isn't one size fits all. The two major ones are SMAS or deep plane facelifts. So the SMAS facelifts involves lifting the skin away from the SMAS. SMAS stands for superficial muscular aponeurotic system, and doing some type of modification of the SMAS, whether putting a stitch into it or lifting it or creating a flap to get that part up so that you're not just doing a skin lift. The problem with a SMAS is that you're separating the skin from the SMAS, and that's not meant to be separated. It looks pulled, it looks tight, you're destroying the blood supply to the skin. The deep plane, on the other hand, keeps those two layers attached, goes under it, lifts them together, so the blood supply to the skin is preserved, and it looks more natural. Generally speaking, general plastic surgeons tend to do the SMAS lift, and facial plastic surgeons that only do faces do, generally speaking, the deep plane. But there are exceptions either way.
How do you decide which type of facelift somebody needs? Is it like the 38-year-old's going to get one thing and the 60-year-old's going to get another?
I don't go by age, I go by aging. You can have a 45-year-old that's lost 50 pounds and that is very severely aged. Also, it depends on sun exposure and sun damage. So there are a lot of factors as to how rapidly we deteriorate as far as, how gravity takes effect.
Okay, because I know that there's not necessarily one gold standard facelift right now, or is there?
No. I mean, in my practice, I use deep plane 80% of the time. For younger patients who are not that aged, you could do a short scar facelift. Like, you don't have to do the full facelift incision. We call those like a baby facelift.
Can you speak directly to the popularity of this procedure as it pertains to your practice?
It is the number one procedure that I do. It's very, very popular, and I've been doing it for a long, long time, over 25 years. But it has gotten a lot more popular, particularly since people are losing major amounts of weight with the peptides, and also people are melting their filler. Well, guess what? If you melt your filler after 40, 45, that skin is not shrinking. If it's been stretched with the filler, it's not going to shrink over age 40.
Yep.
So it sags.
What is it that makes them so good right now?
Well, we are going in good vertical directions. That's the way they should be done. So they're looking more natural, and we're going deeper.
It's being dubbed the Forever 35 facelift. New York Magazine diving into how today's deep plane lifts have become nearly undetectable, leaving patients with a seemingly surgically ageless look.
So the deeper you go, the more natural it looks and the longer it lasts. Also, we are using tissue sealants to reduce bruising. So we're doing a lot of different things to expedite the recovery, like removing drains, adding tissue sealants. So the advances in recovery, plus the advances in the facelifts, have made it feasible for patients to recover quickly.
Well, let's talk about men versus women for this. A lot of the articles we read, a lot of the pictures we see, there's a lot more women than men being talked about, being shown, probably even willing to talk about themselves or showing themselves. So I do want to talk about the male patients here. What are the key indicators that you have to look for on the men versus the women?
In men, we're focusing on vectors that don't distort the beard as much. the jawline is probably the most important thing for men, which is the neck and the area of jowling. The mid-face is not as important for men. They don't focus on their mid-face as much as women do. So we do different types of facelifts for men. And we address the main focus, which is the jawline, which is the jowl and the neck. Also, I discuss incisions. In men, the incisions are shaped so that they have the least possible distortion of the hairline for beard growth.
Do you have any advice for the person who might say, well, I can't afford a Park Avenue doctor, but I also don't necessarily want to go abroad and take a gamble? What are some tips that you have for looking closer to home and finding something that is a little bit more manageable price-wise?
Well, you want to look at somebody who facelifts is their main focus, and it's not just an occasional surgery they're doing. You cannot be an occasional facelift surgeon. Otherwise, you just won't do it right. You have to be in the face every day. So that sort of kind of limits it to people that don't do body work, that just do faces.
Yeah, and you want the repetition of the hand that's just done this over and over and over.
I'm not going to say that they should just seek out facial plastic surgeons, even though I am one. I would say just seek out somebody that shows a lot of facelifts that look natural on their social media.
Are we in a new era of plastic surgery right now?
We're in one of the golden eras of plastic surgery. There's just so much being done with shortening scars, expediting recovery, tissue sealants. Our understanding of aging is evolving. It's not just the facelift. It's the little things or tweaks that you're doing with the facelift that makes things look like they fit together. Because you want the eyes and the face to belong together. You want the eyes, the forehead, and the face and the jawline to look like they're in the same decade. That's when things look natural.
Dr. Sam Rizk, that's Rizk spelled R-I-Z-K. Google him, see his incredible work on Instagram. That link is in our show notes. Remember, he won't mention the word facelift, but he is going to ask you what's bothering you about your face, and he will talk about the way you are going to get there together. And look, Dr. Rizk is doing facelifts in NYC. His client roster includes CEOs and A-listers, names that he would never, ever, ever share with us. But you can guess that a facelift with him is pretty pricey for the same reason. In fact, if you read most write-ups about facelifts these days, you would probably see that they're pricey across the board. Those top-tier surgeons in Manhattan, Miami, Beverly Hills, yeah, they can run $150,000, $200,000 or more. And I cannot, in good faith, try to convince you, dear listener, that $150K is normal for the average person. Now, again, that's New York City. In smaller markets like Kansas City, Denver, Chicago, Minneapolis, you'll still see $30,000 to $50,000 or more. But that is still the price of a new and nice car. So I know maybe what a lot of you are wondering based on these numbers. Can I get an A-list lift for less money? More about that after the break. Hey, whether you are listening to this, our first episode, right at the launch, or if you're hearing it sometime down the line, I hope you will check out all of our other episodes. In the very next one, episode 2, we talk about the explosion of whole body deodorants in the marketplace, and I am joined by my fellow grooming journalist and friend, Garrett Muntz of Esquire. Just hit subscribe for the latest episodes and be sure to visit grooming.tips in your browser. To get on our newsletter mailing list, it's free, and for the latest articles, videos, and, of course, episodes. Welcome back to Spiffy. We already talked facelifts for men, so let's talk costs. For that, I called up a fellow beauty industry journalist who, fun fact, is also a South Dakota native. Tatiana Boncompagni reports on the aesthetics industry in outlets like the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and Goop.
Number one is if you find a surgeon that you really like and they might be a little bit out of your price range or a lot out of your price range, the first thing that you can do is check and see if they have a fellow working for them, which is, somebody who is basically an assistant or somebody who is apprenticing under them.
Yeah, I think a lot about when I go to the doctors and they'll say, hey, this person's shadowing me. They're a medical student. They want to they're here to learn and they're going to observe your surgery today, something like that.
Right. And a lot of these apprentices, you can look, what's great is everybody's got social media and you can go and you can see these fellows before and afters and see, how many surgeries have they performed solo and see like how long they've been performing their own solo surgeries. But oftentimes they'll be a half to a third of the cost of the lead surgeon in their practice. Here's the other thing that a lot of people don't know about their doctors is you can negotiate. And here's how you can negotiate. You can ask them if they're flexible on their dates. And if you were to do it on their timetable, if they would reduce their fee. And then another thing that you can do is offer to do social media for them. Because every doctor needs to work on their social media. It's their marketing.
Oh, like to be featured in their social media or even on their website, I assume.
Two things is one is like, do you have a social media and following at all? Like, even if you have only like, let's say 2,000 followers, like that's still something. It depends on how much engagement you get on your social media. Or, whatever, if you're willing to hand out their business cards, however you're willing to help them with their own marketing. Are you willing to talk about your journey, film yourself, film your recovery, all of that? Many people are not comfortable with that. The majority of people who go and get facelifts do not want to film themselves, do not want their recovery filmed. But these doctors live and die by their before and afters. So if you're willing to do that, sometimes they'll be willing to knock $10,000, $15,000 off of their fee.
Tatiana and I spoke off mic about outsourcing one's facelifts, going abroad for the procedure. She said that Turkey, specifically Istanbul, no surprise, is one of the primary options. Same for Mexico. The city I'm always hearing about there is Guadalajara, though I'm sure there's many wonderful options across the country. And then the third one she noted is South Korea, which also, no shock there, because Seoul is more or less the center of the global beauty industry. But I do want you to remember, if you are thinking of flying far and wide for something like a facelift, this is not something that you can just get on a plane and get back home afterwards. That's something you can do with hair transplants, but not facelifts. Again, a facelift is extremely invasive. Traveling abroad for a bargain at this moment in time is extra risky. Please don't seek out a bargain for the bargain's sake either. You really need the attentive, dedicated aftercare. So any research that you do about where you're going, who is operating, how they prepare you and set expectations, what their advertised results look like, it becomes all the more imperative for a procedure like this. But let's talk specifically about the recovery. I called up one more guest for that. This is Larry Rosenthal.
When someone goes through a procedure and feels so much more confident, they're proud, they walk taller, it helps you in every phase of your life. And the most important part of the phase is the connection between this part of your head and the heart.
Rosenthal knows from experience about helping folks to feel more confident about themselves because he is actually a pioneer in the cosmetic dentistry industry, specifically around veneers. But Dr. Larry Rosenthal is also obsessed with the face.
I'm obsessed with the way it looks, the balance, symmetry, and coordinating something that will make someone look like a better version of themselves.
Larry is a patient of Dr. Sam Rizk, the doctor we spoke to at the top of the episode. And like Dr. Rizk, we caught him between seeing patients midweek. So he's also on the phone here. Please pardon any sound difference between him and I. But I did start my conversation with him asking how old he was when he got his deep plane facelift from Dr. Rizk.
We did my upper eyelids, which were closing a little bit, particularly on the left side. And then we did really the lower third facelift, which was mostly the neck. And it was pulled a little bit on both sides, but it was the neck mostly. And if you see photographs of me, it was extraordinary at the time. You don't ever believe when you look at yourself that you look like that.
How would you describe the pain of this process?
I am the type of person that can endure a lot of discomfort. You want to call it pain, okay? I have a mind over matter kind of mentality. The discomfort factor was absolutely unbelievable, remarkable. I almost tell people when they can't believe that I went ahead and I took Tylenol. And the only major factor of discomfort, and I had a 6-hour operation, was the fact that I had to keep my head straight and not move side to side because I'm used to sleeping on the side.
What, if anything, was the weirdest part of it? Maybe something that surprised you about it?
You have to understand that when you're going ahead and doing fascia and cutting skin, you're going to have nerve innervation that is going to be cut. And therefore, you're going to be numb for a while. And sometimes you feel like you won't ever lose that feeling of numbness, which is not horrendous. It's just sort of an uncomfortable kind of feeling. But part of it came back very quickly. One side came back a little bit later. But right now, to this day, I don't even know that I had surgery. I didn't even know I had surgery months after that.
Wow.
You cannot even see sutures in my face.
Wow. In terms of the recovery, are there unique phases to this process? How does that look?
There's initial concern right away. Am I going to be in severe pain? Am I going to be really comfortable? I wasn't. They gave me half of a pain pill. I don't take pain pills. I think I took it then. The next day, I just took Tylenol. The actual discomfort morbidity factor was minimal for days and days and days and days. In the process of healing, though, there's a contraction of skin and everything else, and you feel a little itching or a little tightness. But that's to be expected. And I think that almost any patient I know could accept that. And then the process of, okay, when is this swelling going to go down? When am I going to not have black and blue? I didn't have black and blue.
Okay.
I didn't have stitches. I had stitches taken out. It was an easy situation. So the whole process was much less than I thought it would be. Now, I don't want to understress the fact that you could have some problems along the way because that's the way life is. But the procedure of the amount of work I had done, not my middle face, but the amount I had to remove from my neck was an awful lot. And in retrospect, if I go back and think about this,
Yep.
it was pretty seamless. And in the end, I give it a 10 plus.
Do I want a facelift? Yes, I do want a facelift. Do I need one? No, I do not need one. But if somebody were to just say, drop out of the sky and say, Adam, you can have a facelift for, let's say, journalistic coverage, I would jump at the opportunity. I think one reason I am so fascinated with Lindsay Lohan in particular and her recent, let's say, rejuvenation is because she's one day older than me on this planet. We are both turning 40 soon, and I just want to have what she's having. I think the most important thing to talk about right now when we talk about facelifts, though, is the cost, because it is astronomical. And I think as the aesthetics trend towards longevity and we get really good at metabolic control so that we age slower, the divide between the haves and the have-nots is going to be evident in how we age. And at this moment in time, the haves, what they can afford is the facelift. They can make themselves look a lot younger now before they can harness their cells on a metabolic level in the probably not too distant future and just take control of that in other ways. So the facelift might become the tool by which the have-nots later need to keep up with the haves. I'm very curious how this technology will continue to be used well into the future. Same way I'm curious if the hair transplant will exist if we eventually find a cure for hair loss. This is just the stuff I think about and posit in my role as grooming journalist. So in the meantime, let's just enjoy that facelifts look great, no matter how expensive they are these days. That said, make sure you take a pragmatic approach if you are considering a facelift. Do your research, find a place that is communicative with you, that has really clear before and after photos, that those photos convey somebody in a similar position as yours, experiencing the same transitions as you, and that can communicate what their aftercare looks like in case you have any issues or needs or questions after the fact. So take your time, do your research. This is an expensive procedure. You could even call on some of Tatiana's tips to hopefully lessen the costs, but make no haste and take your time. And after all, the whole point of living a long, prosperous life is going slow and steady, so make sure you follow that advice here. In every episode of Spiffy, I'm going to spotlight something that I love, whether that is a brand or a product. Consider it a little endorsement from me, given that I'm one of those people testing so many different things. And for this very first episode, I want to call out an entire roster of products, a curation of products that you can find on our website at grooming.tips. These are what we call the Blue Ribbon winners. Now, we give these blue ribbons to the absolute best grooming products of all time. And there are plenty of lists out there, many with my name on them, regarding the best products of the year, the best products in certain categories like skin, shave, body, all of that. But the Blue Ribbon winners are like the creme de la creme, all-time, refrigerated, stamp it officially. I will drop a link in the show notes, but again, you can visit grooming.tips to find that list. Just click Best Products Ever when you're on the site. Let's give a couple of call-outs from that list. First, I have to throw it to my favorite facial cleanser of all time. This is the Marshmallowy Clay Cleanser from Cardon, Cardon. I love a textured product. I think texture often makes something more fun when you use it, so now it is fun for me to wash my face when I use this cushioning and hydrating clay. This cleanser is something that I think will suit almost every skin type and make something that is so routine as washing your face much more enjoyable. And speaking of fun, textured products, another one on that first list of 10 winners is a game changer for short hairstyles, especially if you need to add some fullness and volume to your hair. This is Hans de Foucault's Quicksand Hair Styler. It is part wax, part dry shampoo. And for that oil absorption, the dry shampoo aspect, it uses what's called diatomaceous earth. And that gives you this grit in your hair. It's almost like a Velcro feeling in your hair. It lifts, it defines, it prevents shine. The effect is so great for that volume, for that fullness. Again, that is Hans de Foucault's Quicksand Hair Styler, a product I have adored for as long as I've been in this business. Alright, go check out the entire list at grooming.tips, click Best Products Ever, and you will find all 20 or more, depending on when you're listening to this. And while you're on the site, why don't you also, please, sign up for our free men's grooming newsletter? And that does it for this inaugural episode of Spiffy. Thank you to our sponsor, Hims. Spiffy is a production of Blueprint by Adam Hurly. That is me. It is produced by Hadi Mawagdi with support from our web producer and co-founder, Andrea Jabbour. You can find us on YouTube and social media at Blueprint Grooming. And until next time, stay spiffy.